All right, so this is the carving demo of how to carve your printing block. We have number 2s and number 4/5s, and the idea here is they are different size carving tips that go into a carving handle. So right here, this is the carving tip of a number 2. See how small it is? It's a V shape. And then we have the carving tips of a 4/5. 4/5. See, it's a big U shape. Which one is going to carve more? Which one's going to carve more?
The 4/5.
The 4/5. All right, just making sure. If we flip these around, they are the exact same. Do you see that? They're the exact same. This is the non-sharp edge that goes into the carving handle. But this one's pretty obvious. You can tell which end is which. On this one, it's a little bit more difficult. It looks the same. But if you flip this over, you can see that it actually has this beveled edge to it. You see that? It's got a beveled edge to it. It looks like it's shiny, or it looks like it's sharpened like a knife. Does that make sense? It is actually sharpened just like a knife. It is super, super sharp, and this is when the whole not dying in art class comes into play. Like for real. Does that make sense? Got to be careful with these. What we usually do is we start with a number 2, and I'm going to put this in here, and we go lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Don't loosen it too much, otherwise this thing falls apart. If it does fall apart, I'm going to show you right now, try not to let this happen. You need to make sure that you get all 3 of these parts, otherwise this is a useless piece of plastic, and we have to replace it. The idea here is these 2 fit perfectly together. It makes like a mini version of this that goes inside, or it looks like a little bullet, if you will. It's got a beveled edge to it, and this has a beveled edge to it. And so bevel goes in towards the bevel, and then we go righty-tighty and tighten this up. Remember how there's 2 pieces there? What happens is you take this non-sharpened side and goes in between those 2. It doesn't go like crazy like this, or way up here, or anything like that. It goes all the way down in between those, and then we righty-tighty so you can actually tighten it up. Does that make sense? We're good to go on that? All right. If this was meant to be held like a pencil, it would look like a pencil. It does not look like a pencil, because this isn't safe while you're carving things with a sharp object attached to it. So what we do is we have this bulb end, and that goes in the palm of your hand. You can carve like this, because this is a lot more secure. If you want to go like this, I'm okay with that, but don't touch the tip. It's sharp, like a knife. Don't die in art class. Okay, so we got this, and say I am going to start carving here. You ready for me to start carving? You sure? If you see anything that I'm doing wrong, you need to stop me here. So I'm going to start carving.
Stop.
Why?
Because the blade is pointing at you.
Yes, this is pointing at me, and I could stab myself and die in art class. Don't break the number 1 rule. So, I'm going to turn this away from me, and I'm going to start carving. Here we go.
Stop.
Why? Why? What's going on?
Because it's still pointed at you.
It's pointed at me, but it's not pointed at me.
Pointed at your fingers in your hand.
Yeah, it's pointed towards my hand. This is how you end up with a V or a U-shaped cut right along here in your hand. It bleeds a lot, I'm just letting you know. This is usually where people cut themselves on accident in class. And they go down to the nurse's office bleeding profusely. Does that make sense? This is where you gotta be careful. So now, I have this out of the way, and I have this pointed. I'm gonna go like this, and I would go around here, and I go around here, and then I go...
Stop.
Why?
Because you're pointed at you.
It's pointed at me again. We have to watch out for this. None of this craziness. This needs to be pointed directly away from you at all times. But you're like, I have curves. I have to carve curves. What do?
Well, so turn it.
I turn the printing block. This is pointed away, and I turn the printing block. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to carve out everything but our black lines on this one. If you had something that was a little different, like this is more of Grumpy Cat style, where you'd carve only the highlights. Where this one, you're carving everything but the black lines. It's still all the highlights, but we're leaving the black lines. Does that make sense? Yes, we're good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start carving here, and I'm going to carve on the outside of this black line. I am not stabbing into my project. I am just carving the top layer. We will have to carve on the other side eventually, so we don't want to go through our project. I am also, because we have nice clean lines, I am going to start carving along the edge and go nice and neat and clean and secure with my carve, as opposed to going, ah! Does that make sense? So I'm going to go like this, and I would go on the outside of this line. I'm just going to stop there. And so these things sometimes get stuck in here. Sometimes they do. It's okay. Don't stab the table trying to get them out. It ruins the table and the sharp part of the knife. So what we do is we go and turn it upside down, and it falls out. If it doesn't fall out when you turn it upside down, don't stab the table, just tap the handle. Make sense? Don't stab the table. What I would do is I would go on the outside, and I would go on the inside of this line, keeping the black line nice and clean. What we're trying to do is keep that. You got to be careful though, because if you accidentally cut into this, then there goes the bull's head. It's gone. You got to watch out for that. I turn this upside down, not a big deal. This is to go all through these little things and go around the lines. I would lefty loosen this. Once I have all those carved, I would put it point side down in the number 2 bin, and then I would use this one for carving the big area. The big area is going to get carved, and this one will cut all the way through your project. You have to be careful. Just take that top layer. So I'm going to go along this. It just carves more. I'm going along where I carved again, just so I have a nice clean line. Same idea. Does that make sense? I could carve and go all horizontal, or I could keep going around it, but the idea is if I carve this way, what could happen? You could cut the bull's head off. It's not a big deal. That would be a problem though. The idea though is you could carve this way, away from your project, and it wouldn't be a big deal. It wouldn't be a big deal at all. When you put these away, you would put the sharp point down, and you would tighten this up all the way to put it away. Great job, guys.